Yeah, 1970.
That's a good way to start right there. Way back at the beginning of time, before the creation of either old Hedicus or Eddie Spartacus. Neither one of us were born at that point. I was born in 78, so I was still not even about to disappoint my parents yet. That wouldn't happen for 8 years. Anyway,
my dad wasn't born either. So
dang. Oh yeah, I forgot. I am old enough to be your dad, so makes sense. Hi, this is Cranked and Ranked. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is one of the episodes where we rank our top 10 favorite albums from a particular year, and we've been doing a lot of 70s, 80s, 90s, but not so much in the 70s. I think we've only done 1 or 2 70s years, maybe 3.
I think we've done more than that. I think we did 76, 77. I think we've done 78 and 9.
Oh, maybe we did. You know what? I don't even remember.
But we haven't done any early 70s yet. So.
And we're doing the earliest 70s. So early, you could say it's still 1969. Considering a lot of these albums some of them were probably recorded in 1969, but came out in 1970. In fact, one of them on my list was recorded a couple years before and came out in 1970. But that dims the facts. So so this is not really like ranking in the sense of I don't know. I go way more with my own enjoyment and my own gut feelings when we do these year episodes. I don't really try to think too much about technically which album is better or which one maybe has better songs on it or whatever. I just kind of like, well, this one's the one that speaks to me and says, I belong in this place right here. I belong number whatever. And yeah. That's how it goes. And I usually try to like bring, my vinyl. But this is one time where there's going to be 3 of them that I don't have the vinyl to bring out. I apologize to everyone out there because I've been lazy. I haven't been that lazy. I just my 70s record collecting is kind of slow. Like I get things every once in a while. But the three that are not in my collection will be at some point. They're just not right now. Which is like I struggle with 2 different emotions because I'm a little OCD, and so when I don't have something, if I was a super rich motherfucker, I'd be buying shit all the time because I'd be like, I don't have those. I have to buy all of them, and I would just buy them, and I would have. But there's also that part of me that thinks, oh, isn't it fun that my record collection is ongoing? Like it's an ever evolving thing. And I know that at some point I'm going to get these. And on top of that, some things that I don't even know that I want right now. And I like fucking getting the Toto albums and shit. I never would have thought I'd be doing that. I'm almost done. All I got to do is get the 7th one. And I'm at all of the originals that I want to own. So that's fun. But anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time and money on records. So
same.
Yeah. It's a little better.
There we go.
I just did a slight move of the camera and I go, that feels better. Anyway, I'm sorry for the podcast listeners. Not only do you not see the vinyl that I show, but you didn't see the camera move, which was so slight it probably didn't matter to anybody but me.
Solid 3 degrees to the. I'm thinking from my perspective, it's to the right.
To the
left.
Well, I guess this was going it's to the left. To the left.
Clockwise.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, cockwise. Anyway, but you know what? I want to, before we get into this, I wanted to talk about this because this has been on my mind. Not related, but it's music related. Because the Jack Russell passed away. From Great White. Is that it? Wait, am I saying his name right? I said Jack Russell and immediately thought it was a dog. That's his actual name, right?
Yeah, that's his at least his stage name, as far as I know. I don't know if he had look it up.
I'm not a huge Great White fan. Eventually we'll get around and we'll rank Great White and maybe I will have a better appreciation. But I do like some of their stuff. But
Rock Me!
Well, Rock Me's that's a sexy song. But he passed away, and immediately, like, I just felt so like sad for a dude that I didn't know, just because I start thinking about, I'm like, what? That is a fucking life right there, where you're a great singer and you get the chance to be on top. In the 80s, they had a fucking hit song, and you know they were a big band in the 80s for a minute. And to go from that to a decade later or so with that horrible fire that happened, that, you know, a lot of fucking people, the station house or station,
it's the station nightclub fire. I think isn't it the worst one in history? Like 100 people died.
I don't know if it's the worst concert disaster in history, but yeah, so immediately that is in my brain, because I remember being at home, whatever night that was, I didn't have anything to do. And I was literally just sitting at home flipping channels. And then it went across like CNN, and all of a sudden there's this footage, and I sat there watching it because they just kept showing this footage over and over again of these people like trying to get out of a door and
piled up in the doorway,
and then
flames coming out of the walls.
Yeah, the people and the shot that somebody got of the actual incident happening. Yeah, and I just remember being so like, man, that's like, because I mean, obviously there was somebody at fault. Whoever the pyrotechnic guy was should have known better. But also on top of that, did they know that whatever the state, I don't remember all the facts, but did they do it in smaller venues and it was fine, and they didn't know that this one had whatever asbestos or whatever the fuck they had that would catch fire so easily? I don't know. But
I think it was the foam. It was the soundproofing foam.
Maybe so. But I think about the fans and the band, because neither one of them wanted that or expected that. No. They were just band here to play a show. They're a band that has fallen from the top, but they still have these people that want to fucking listen to them play. Fucking awesome. And then these people just want to go out and have a good time. Some of them probably don't even want to see Great White. They just want to go to a rock show. I don't know. But I just think about things like that. And you know, that watching that on TV, it was just shocking to me. And so I think about Jack Russell dying, and I'm just like, the roller coaster of highs and lows. Yeah. You know, and then he gets sick. I don't remember exactly what he passed away from, but I know he was sick. But I was just like, I felt so bad just because, like, maybe I shouldn't feel bad because he got to, like, you know, experience the highs that I'm never going to fucking experience. But then he also experienced lows that I hope I never have to experience. I would never want to be I would never want to feel responsible for the death of a lot of people. And I know he did. And so it's, you know, whether or not, you know, he's the person to blame or not, you definitely hold that on your shoulders, because it's your band was there and it was your pyrotechnics for your band. But anyway, so it just made me feel like I wanted to say, you know, rest in peace, Jack Russell. I don't know a lot about him, but Great White is on our list, everybody. They are on the really long list of bands, so we will get there. But I just wanted to take a moment, since, you know, in this moment in time, because I for some reason I felt for the guy. I'm just like, holy shit, man, that is. And then later on in life, all of a sudden he splits with his band, where there's another Great White, and like, I guess that's happening to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I don't know the ins and outs of why that was happening, but it just seems like a lot of stress for being in rock and roll, you know?
I think as well, this year has been it's been a shitty year to be a hair metal fan because the Firehouse frontman CJ Snare also passed away this year, didn't he? Was that this year?
Yeah. And did I tell you that is it Firehouse? Because I think if I remember right, like he passed away, but I think if I remember right, the previous singer of that band Wanted, that he is now the singer of Firehouse.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying. Yeah.
So like they have
wild.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, that sucks that he passed away as well. And to make matters worse, fucking Motley Crue put out a Beastie Boys cover. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that because I told you I hate piling on. Piling on is like the fucking worst. But and because I didn't say shit about the last Motley Crue single, like the original music they put out, because I did not like it. So of course I didn't say shit about it. But when you're so lame that you're just like, oh, let's cover Fight for Your Right to Party. I'm like, don't you guys remember that like Warrant did that like in the early 90s? Like, you know, or maybe it was the late 80s. I'm all like, this isn't, whose idea was that? And then fire them for that idea. Anyway.
The Like a Virgin one as well. I remember when that one came out.
I didn't hate that, but that's probably because it's associated with the Dirt movie, which I really liked.
For me, it just struck me as, I mean, it's an 80s song and they're an 80s band, but it just seemed, I don't know, in a way I kind of like it, but it's weird to hear Vince singing a Madonna song.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I'm a much bigger Madonna fan than I am a Motley Crue fan.
Live to Tell's a great song, dude.
But I love Motley Crue, but Madonna is the queen to me. But speaking of that though, this is like one of those podcasts where we do like news items. I got another news item for you before we get to the meat of the show. Speaking of The Dirt, the guy who directed The Dirt has directed a documentary about the 80s hair metal scene. Did you see the trailer for it?
I've seen it, yeah. And
you saw the documentary?
I've not seen the documentary yet. I've seen the trailer for it.
I'm about to fucking do a Paramount free trial just so I can watch that shit because I don't fuck Paramount in the ass. But I mean, but I'm all like, that looks fun. I would like to watch. I think it's called Nothing But a Good Time or something like that.
Yeah, funny. I've been using Paramount Plus a lot lately because I'm binge watching all of the Nickelodeon shows of my youth, and I managed to get through like half of Drake and Josh in a single day.
Is Paramount Plus where apparently they're supposed to be starting some kind of metal, like a Headbangers Ball type show?
Oh, I don't know.
Paramount Plus. I don't, and it's done. I think it's. I want to say there's some like well-known metal publication that's involved in it, or record label, like Metal Blade, or somebody is involved in it, and it might be on Paramount because I remember immediately going, "Ah, fuck you! Why you gotta do that to me? I have too many services, and I don't want any more."
All I can see here is the 80s metal documentary.
Okay.
God, it looks fucking fun to watch.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that, and then of course, you know, since I will have a free trial of Paramount Plus, you know, I'm probably going to watch all the Beavis and Butthead that I can. So, because because the newer ones I've seen are actually really funny, and so I was just like, but it's fucking Mike Judge. Mike Judge rules. I cannot wait, and this will probably mean I have to subscribe to Paramount Plus. I cannot wait for the King of the Hill, new King of the Hill, because he's doing New King of the Hill.
Yeah.
And love that show. And the fact that they're going to be realistic with it and they're literally going to be like 20 plus years older.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And apparently it's going so well. They've literally already started recording the voices for season 2. Like
oh, shit.
So Very excited. That's
Dear
not music.
God, it's all toilet sound.
Is everybody a DJ?
That's my purse. I don't know you. I've only seen a few. I've only seen a couple of like big episodes of King of the Hill.
I love.
It's a show I really need to binge.
It says a lot when because for some reason I have a hard time enjoying animated shows. So shows like King of the Hill and like Bob's Burgers, those are ones that have somehow broken through that thing where I just don't care that it's animated because it's so well done and entertaining. Anyway, that's not music related, unless you want to talk about the theme to King of the Hill, which is done by a band called The Refreshments. I think that's the band that does the theme to King of the Hill. They had like a '90s minor hit back in those days. Anyway, we're not talking about the '90s. We're gonna go in the Wayback Machine all the way back to 1970. Back in the, I don't know, they weren't necessarily good old days because I wasn't alive, so fuck that. But yeah, we're doing
8 years before I was born.
Yeah, but we're doing our top 10 favorite albums from 1970. And there were a few that like I went to go listen to because I wasn't familiar with, and I go, oh, maybe this could end up in my top 10. But in the end, it ended up being 10 albums that I know pretty well that ended up being number 10. Like nothing new broke through and said, oh, this is an awesome one. These are all like ones that I know pretty well. But anyway, I guess let's just get started.
Yeah.
And let's we won't go backwards like we did last week. We're gonna do regular Uno and not reverse Uno this week. And so as usual, I'm gonna let Eddie Sparxx start us off with his number 10 album from 1970.
Okay, so I'm still playing catch up on certain years of the 70s. Some years of the 70s I know a fuckload of albums. Some years I have like barely enough knowledge of, especially the early 70s, early 70s.
Yeah.
I'm very confined to certain bands. So this has been a fun one because I've listened to several albums this time around that I've been meaning to give a good listen.
Yeah.
That have been on my to-do list, quote unquote, but there's also some absolute mainstays here. And I'm going to be honest, I doubled up a few times on bands.
Oh, I doubled up on 2 bands. So
I doubled up on 3. so
well, I'm willing to bet one of them is the same band for us. The other one is not, but yeah.
Okay. So with that said, my number 10 is Funhouse by the Stooges.
Nice.
And I heard a lot about this album being, not only an absolute ball of energy, which it is. It's 37 minutes of just pure, unfiltered energy. And for its time, like this is around the same time as MC5, Kick Out the Jams, all this kind of wild, hard rock, proto-punk, proto-metal. Proto-genre is such a weird concept to me because it's kind of like, doesn't that just mean they did it first? like in a weird way. But
I always use the term proto when I'm referring to like something where it's early enough and there's just a little bit of it in there to where it's not fully there, but you can totally hear the seeds, of what would come. That's proto to me. But
well, the thing that really drew me towards this album is the fact that I really like the early grunge era as well, like going way back to like early Mudhoney, Green River, Deep Six stuff, to where it's a much more embryonic 80s version of grunge that stylistically isn't very 80s at all. It's got much more in common with the MC5 and the Stooges and wild stuff like that. Like, it really is its own little pocket in time where it's like nothing apart from maybe a little bit of production is pointing to this being from the 80s, but that like mid to late 80s really punky grunge.
Yeah.
like this is a huge influence on that. This album here, and by extension, the Stooges, and basically any energetic, punky, hard rock from around this time.
I mean, not to mention that Iggy Pop is an icon that I feel
Yeah,
across the board of rock music, people love him and are influenced by something he's
yeah.
involved with, you know?
He often struck me as an icon, but an icon that's not talked about enough. Like to to me, in my experience, I don't know whether or not it's because I went down more of a metal route than a punk route,
Hmm.
but and I love both. I love both. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I remember seeing Iggy Pop in these like in these adverts growing up on TV, and and I just remember seeing him. I was like, "Who's this old dude with his shirt off? He's clearly important to something." And then years later, oh, that's the guy from the fucking Phones for You advert or something when I was a kid.
And he in fact owns no shirts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's this album, man. Like I'm really new to it, but I immediately latched onto it as, yep, this is going in the list because it's just so well put together, and but it feels like at any moment it's going to go off the rails.
Hmm.
But that like frenetic craziness is what really broke new ground in the late 60s and early 70s, to where it was like, yeah, we've just had this really cool psychedelic flower power era. Here's the like here's the crazy fucking version of that, man. Like,
Yeah.
unable to sit still. It's like the rise of ADHD music. It's amazing. um yeah, I love it. I think it's great, and I look forward to listening to it more in the future, as I feel like I have heavily neglected this incredible slab of bonkers fun rock and roll.
Yeah. I'm not that one's not on my list, but I was once about 5 feet away from Iggy Pop. And that was I was when I got to see him. And this was in 2016, maybe.
Yeah.
He came through Austin and he did a taping of the show Austin City Limits, which is like a big deal over here where everybody comes and plays, and it's on PBS. You can watch it on PBS or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the equivalent of that is over there, but Anyway, so we got tickets to go to the taping of his concert. So it was like, got to see Iggy Pop, but it was like a kind of a smaller group, of people to see Iggy Pop. But I just remember at one point during this show, we're not close to the front. I was like, I don't know, maybe about like 40 feet from the stage, maybe. But he jumps off of the stage and like nobody knows where he is. And then all of a sudden I look to my right and he's dancing in the crowd, like right over next to me. I was like, oh shit, fucking Iggy Pop. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And if you can find the episode, you can see me in there, standing there awkward.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't know how there's no close-ups or anything, but you could probably, if you really wanted to look, pick me out because I looked exactly like this, only younger.
Austin City Limits 2016 Iggy Pop.
Was it 2016? Did it come up as, I don't remember the exact year. It was either
The
15,
movie
16.
theater.
Yeah.
That's the one. I found it. I'm going to be looking for you all night now.
anyway, so yeah, that's not on my list, but I like it. I like the Stooges and Iggy Pop. But all right, my number 10 is one of the ones I don't have on vinyl yet.
Okay.
And it is a lesser talked about album from a very much talked about band. My number 10 is Adam Hart Mother from Pink Floyd. And it's kind of like the end of their experimental phase. I mean, they always were, a little experimental, a little psychedelic, but they did like a group of albums where I almost feel like, Sid Barrett leaves, or is out of Pink Floyd, and then they just went, let's get fucking weirder. And so they did these really strange albums. And Atom Heart Mother is one where, like, side A is one long song, and it's got like a fucking orchestra in it and shit. And then the second side, it kind of goes all over the place, from really sort of mellow stuff to a little more rockin'. And then, the last song, which is like, is it even a song? Like, it's just, I don't know. There's sound effects at one point and music at another point, but it's an interesting album. You kind of got to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But
that's the one with Cow on it, right?
Yeah, yeah. But after this, I think the album after this was Metal, which is, for me, kind of like the beginning of the Pink Floyd as a huge fucking band, because from then you get Dark Side of the Moon and blah, 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 and all that stuff. It's, everybody knows those albums, but albums like Atom Heart Mother and like, Ummagumma and things like that, they're just, I just love the fact that they didn't give a fuck, and they were a major label band. and just to be that kind of band in that kind of time where you're like, I think everybody just expected, like, oh, this is going to be fucking weird. Cool. And like, I like Pink Floyd for that, because I like the different eras of Pink Floyd, the Sid Barrett era, and then this era, and then the big classic rock era, and there's some good tunes in the 80s when it was, the David Gilmour show. But me, I like odd albums where the band clearly didn't give a shit. And Atom Heart Mother is one of those, and I really enjoy it. Eventually we'll do a Pink Floyd ranking. Because I have thoughts about all of their albums, and some of them are some of my favorite albums ever. Like, they've been with me since I was a kid, because my older brother was into Pink Floyd. He didn't listen to a whole lot of music that wasn't the Doctor Who soundtrack. But one of the bands that he somehow got really into was Pink Floyd, and so I got to hear like a lot of those albums when I was young, and so they've always been with me.
Those are two vibes that I feel like go together, is classic Doctor Who and Pink Floyd. I can't quite describe why, but it's like they're both spacey,
I have a connection that I think is where it happened, because if you go listen to, there's a song that, and the very first song on the album Metal is called One of These Days. It's a fucking banger. But in the middle of the song kind of drops out, and you just hear this bass guitar that has like a, what would you call that? Like a, where a sound gets doubled up by whatever the effect is, it's like a
chorus, flange modulation.
No, it added like an echo, but it's a real tight echo. Anyway,
like kind of a gated reverb, maybe, sort of thing.
I don't know. I don't know terms. All I know is that all of a sudden you're hearing this bass guitar that was doing dun 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 dun, but now it's doing dun 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 dun, and then you hear this little thing go ooh. and I'm like, are they doing the Doctor Who theme in one of their songs? And so like, I almost feel like my brother heard that and went, I like this Pink Floyd. Which one's Pink?
Which song is that? Because I want to.
It's called One of These Days. If you're not a Pink Floyd fan, this will be your entry point. Because One of These Days is a fucking great song, and it literally has no vocals except for one line close to the end, and the only thing in the entire song you hear somebody say is some voice goes, "One of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces."
Dude, Pink Floyd, it really is one of those bands where I know big hits, and I know like two albums pretty well. Obviously Dark Side of the Moon, everybody's heard Dark Side of the Moon. But I've heard like the big songs from The Wall, and I've heard
The Wall is fucking perfect. Like, it is. There's very few concept albums that I go perfect. It's fucking perfect.
Judging by the fact that this section here says most replayed in one of these days, I'm going to click that. Is that?
I
Don't.
can't hear. I can't hear.
I'm just listening for myself. Oh, doing the little piece.
Okay, so it's before that. It's before that that you hear. It just does the little Doctor Who theme kind of melody.
I hear it. All right. Yeah, I'm hearing it. Okay, there's a little organ stab there. Sorry to the listeners for having to listen to me go. Oh, do you know? Do you know roughly if you had to give it like a?
All I know is it's when the bass is by itself and all of a sudden it's like like it starts doing it really like it whatever the effect is. Some nerd out there is going to be like, "God damn it, old head! It's called Flocky Docky." Well, when it Flocky Dockies.
The thing I love about Pink Floyd is like as a band, as a concept as well. It's like they've got obviously the solo to Comfortably Numb is one of the most amazing feel-wise things ever put to tape.
Yeah.
But they also have I've got a bike and I've got
yes.
things on it that make it look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a mouse and he hasn't got a house. Don't know why I call him Gerald. That's Sid Barrett right there. That is the anyway. All right.
British folk, man.
So anyway, my number 10 does not have Sid Barrett on it. It is Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd. That's my number 10. Moving on. Boom, boom, boom. I feel like we're going to be Tangent City.
Okay.
So number 9.
Okay. So my number 9 is an album by one of my favorite late 60s, early 70s bands. It is Pendulum by CCR. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Okay. All right.
And it's one of their albums. Let me get it up here, see if it's got any fun little anecdotes. But yeah, basically it's one of the albums that I've listened to less. I've spent a lot more time with Green River, Bayou Country, Cosmos Factory. But this album is cool because it's kind of later on. They've got more horn section-y stuff going on. There's a little more keyboard going on. So it gives it kind of its own personality outside of just kind of the swamp rock kind of thing that they're doing. Regardless, songwriting-wise, they've written so many classics.
Yeah.
This one really, the only like single from this album is "Have You Ever Seen the Rain?"
Okay.
Which is a great song. But ultimately, when I stacked it next to another album, I thought to myself, I can't double up too hard. So Pendulum ultimately ended up at the 9 slot because otherwise I had to be fair and I had to allow some breathing room for other albums to get a little higher. Otherwise, it would be 3 band double bills up top.
Yeah.
And to be fair. This released it on December 9th, 1970. So it's basically a 1971 album at that point. But it's a cool. The thing that's wild to me about this era is that so many bands. It's the second studio album the band released that year, arriving 5 months after Cosmos Factory. 5 months. That is less than half a year to deliver another album. Like, bands were just shitting out classics left, right, and center and thinking nothing of it at the time.
Yeah, but even then, like, a lot of those bands, obviously there's always one album that's better than the other when there's 2 that come out in the same year. But there's that part of me that thinks like we need, like, I wish that we I wish that there was enough money in the music industry that we could put that kind of standard on bands now and be like, oh, you seem like you're a pretty good band, but can you put together an album in 6 months and put it out? You know, it's like, let's hear what happens when you have to put together an album when you're on a break from tour and then put it out. You know, I want to hear that album, but I don't know. But back then there was obviously more money going around in the music industry. People appreciated music. Now I have people that I see. I keep seeing this fucking thing. I think I said this before. I keep seeing this thing on Threads where people post this same hot take, and it's like, if you buy an iPhone, you should get Apple Music for free. I'm just like, just remove yourself from the planet, because it's like that's literally just saying I put no value in music because I won't pay $10 a month. Or whatever it is. It's not much more than $10. But I'm just like, I hate it when I hear people complaining about paying for music and they're not they're not buying $30 vinyl like me or $40 vinyl. Sometimes if it's a smaller band and they're putting together their shit, like I will fork over a lot of money just to support them. But these people are all like, oh, you mean I got to spend $10 a month? For all this music? It's like,
you mean I gotta pay for something that took hard work to put together?
Yeah.
I don't get this for free because I'm an entitled little brat?
It just shows that that there's no appreciation, probably because there's not a lot of understanding. And it's also ruined by the fact that a lot of popular music is stuff that you could just record in your bedroom and put out and doesn't take a lot of effort. But there are people that still put a lot of effort into their shit all across the board, from pop artists all the way to, metal and what have you. But anyway, always bums me out because I'm just like, this is the problem. Like we should be treating musicians like movie stars. So there should be a standard of like, well, they're bringing us this entertainment. They should be paid $1 million each album or whatever, Anyway, but then where would the money come from? We'll just take it out of the military budget, throw it at musicians. Everyone will be happier and not want to fight. And there you go. Anyway, so are we on to my number 9 now?
Old head for president.
You're gonna be my vice president then. So that would be a hell of a ticket right there. Head and Sparxx 2024. Anyway, my number 9. I also do not have this one on vinyl. The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie. David Bowie, as they say in England.
Bowie.
I love this album. It's like, to me, it's the most rock album that David Bowie ever did. He did some stuff a little later on that, had some rockin' tunes on it, but I feel like as a whole, this album, despite the cover, makes you feel like it's going to be a little glammy. It's got fucking riffs and solos and like it is a groover. And I love it. And plus it's like, it's this weird sort of turning point with David Bowie where he went from like, a couple albums or so of him being like, I'm the British guy doing songs. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm wearing a dress and making rock and roll. And I'm just like, this is fucking awesome. But,
aren't his first 2 albums both self-titled? They just have different album covers?
No, isn't the second one called Space Oddity? Or is it?
No, it goes I'm looking at, there's one from 67 and there's one from 69. And one's called David Bowie and it's got him looking very 60s on it.
Yeah.
And then there's a second David Bowie, but it's him looking like one of the doctors emerging from the wormhole.
Yeah.
A lot of Doctor Who talk.
I don't know why I thought that was called Space Oddity. Probably because Space Oddity is on that, but
is that the one Space Oddity is on? Yeah, Space Oddity, yeah.
But
that's probably what people call it,
Yeah. But even then, like that there's a lot of acoustic shit going on. But this one, he became a rock artist. And of course, it also has the song, The Man Who Sold the World, which most people learned about, not most people, but younger people, even my age included, learned about the song through Nirvana, covering it in Unplugged, which, it's a good version of the song. I prefer David Bowie's version of the song, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's this is a good album. Like, if for those of you out there that may not be into David Bowie, but you're into like rock music and 70s rock music, The Man Who Sold the World is probably a good one to go check out. Maybe it'll get you into some Bowie, because after this you get to move into the Ziggy Stardust like area of stuff, and that's fun as hell. But anyway, so yeah, my number 9, David Bowie, The Man Who Sold the World.
Cool.
I always want to do a David Bowie impression because I hear people do it, and it seems like, I can do that, but then I can't do it. I'm David Bowie. I don't know. I can't. It's awful.
David Bowie. We're on
David Bowie.
I'm going to do my number 8 now. So yeah,
number 8.
So my number 8. My number 8 is
3. Led Zeppelin 3?
It is Led Zeppelin 3.
All right.
Sorry, I forgot audio listeners listen to this as well.
He was holding up 3 fingers.
Yeah. So I've gone for Led Zeppelin 3 at number
8.
Hold up. Yeah.
Hope we never do.
Allow me to troubleshoot something. 1 second.
Did you go out of order?
Okay. Okay, so I just had an Emmett Brown moment where I forgot that Led Zeppelin 2 is 1969.
Oh, yeah. Because their first 2 albums were the same year, correct?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Shite.
Did you put Led Zeppelin 2 somewhere on this
Led
list?
Zeppelin 2 on this list. My dumb ass.
All right, we're gonna do some live edits right now. Go ahead and
okay. Okay, find a 1970 album. 1970 album.
You didn't have some leftovers
them.
that can get shoved in there.
Stole them, dude. Stole them.
All right, so it was I saw David Bowie in concert. He was not 5 feet from me, but I got to see David Bowie in concert. I'm just going riffing on my last album. The album he was touring on was called, what the fuck is the name of that album? God damn, I don't remember. But it was an album that I actually really liked. Anyway, so it would have been around 2004, maybe. But he was fucking great. He fucking busted out Rebel Rebel, song number 1. Like that, you start a fucking concert and you got the whole fucking place is fucking went up. It was fun as hell. It was fun. Who else did I see around that time? I saw Elvis Costello in the early 2000s. He was quite fun.
I might have recovered it. I've recovered it.
Okay. Rush. I saw Rush around that time too.
I've gone ahead and moved Led Zeppelin 3 up a few spots as a result of my removal of 2.
All right, so now you got a peek. Led Zeppelin 3 is somewhere in his list, but where will it be? But now the real question is, what be number 8 now?
What be number 8 indeed? Well, my number 8 is Fire and Water by Free.
Oh, I've never heard this album, nor can I remember a Free song. Is there a Free?
All right now, baby, it's all
Oh, hey,
right
man, is that
now.
Freedom Rock? Well, turn it up, man. That's literally the only way. There's certain songs that I only know snippets of them from those commercials growing up, like Freedom Rock. It's like But they might as well just be one long song. So it's like, all right now, Lord, I was born a rambling man. Like it's like, I don't know any more of those songs. It's just those little chunks that I know.
Well,
Free.
Yeah, I love
People just took their albums all the time without paying for them because they're like, it fucking says free on the album.
I wonder if you've got. I wonder if you have plausible deniability in that kind of scenario.
Yeah, maybe you should change your name to 999. People will stop stealing them.
I did consider when I was a young boy. I remember thinking, should I try and steal that System of a Down album to see what happens? Just to see what happens. And just say, hey, I'm walking out of the store. Really draw attention to it. What are you going to do? It says steal it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I mean, I paid for that album, but,
yeah.
But
only because they told me to,
Yeah. It's like I did walk up very confused. I was like, it says steal it, but I think it also has a price tag. So I'm going to err on the side of caution.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, this is an album I haven't listened to in a long time, but I remember it being a like little gateway into like the bluesy 70s hard rock stuff. I really like it. I just love when things got bluesy and riffy, and yeah, me likey. Fire and Water. I haven't really written a lot of notes here because I was thinking, 3 double bills, this will be a breeze. And then I realized that 2 came out in 69. 69, dudes! Yeah, Fire and Water. It's a cool album. And there's some cool hair on this front cover too. Especially Homeboy laying down. Yeah.
No, I don't. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
It's a good early 70s bluesy rock album.
Nice.
Me likey.
Cool. Speaking of bluesy rock albums, I have a vinyl of this one. And this is an oddity in my collection because I like this band. I really like this album, but the band that this gentleman would go on to join is a band that I do not really care for. But I like this album a lot. My number 8, James Gang, Rides Again.
Cool.
And do you know James Gang? Are you familiar with James Gang?
Did James Gang do Funk number?
Funk 49.
Yeah, Funk 49. Yeah.
Fucking banger. And so this gentleman right here, his name is Joe Walsh. And he would later join a band called The Eagles, who I don't really like that much. They got some songs that are okay, but I'm not a big fan. But this album is just bluesy riff rock. And I love Joe Walsh's vocals. He just has like one of those voices that would annoy some people, but really, like, I love it. Look at this gatefold too. Look at this fucking gatefold. Cool. That is some trippy shit going on.
You can tell that the 60s are still kind of happening,
Yeah, but like this album alone, if this album just had Funk 49 on it, it would still be on this list. But it's got other great songs on it too. But just like that is a good song. If I'm not in the best mood, just put on Funk 49. And as soon as I hear that, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. What the fuck we doing now? We're going to party? Because that's how I feel with Funk 49. So, but this whole album's fun. It's a very enjoyable 70s bluesy rock album from the Mr. Joe Walsh and his gang, his James Gang, which I don't really know where
Joe Walsh's James Gang.
Also, I like covers like this. I know some people would probably call it lazy, but I don't know why. I just like the vibe of it.
Stylistically, it's very cool because
I
suppose when you get a good font and just slap it on a black and white, it can be effective. Sometimes less is more. Yeah.
Anyway, James Gang, Rides Again is my number 8. So moving on to number 7.
Okay, my number 7 is In Rock by Deep Purple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I couldn't not include it. It's a fucking classic, dude. I mean,
Got a lot of bangers on it.
it's got a lot of bangers on it and a healthy dose of Hammond organ.
That's another one too. The fucking what's the first song on that album?
Speed King.
Speed King. I don't know why I always biff the name of that one. I can never remember it. But that one's another one. If I'm in a bad mood, you fucking throw that fucker on, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Hell yeah! It's. I mean, what songs we got here? Yeah, it's Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time, dude.
Child in Time's on there, yeah.
Flight of the Rat, Into the Fire, Live and Wreck, Hard Loving Man. Now, I know that, what is it? There's certain versions that have Black Knight on it and versions that don't have Black Knight on it. Black Knight's a fucking classic.
Yeah.
On top of this album.
In case anyone's wondering, Deep Purple is also on the list.
Yeah. Hey.
we will get there.
Nice. Yeah, but I mean, what a lineup of names as well. Ian Gillan, Richie Blackmore, Roger Glover, John Lord, Ian Pace, like, well deserved big names. And I think when they did that kick-ass Mount Rushmore artwork for it, they knew that they were onto something good.
Yeah,
like they were like, hey, we've got a little bit of a head start on this here metal thing that's coming along. Don't tell anyone else about it, but we're gonna beat them to the punch a little bit.
That's a banger. Funny enough, not my favorite iteration of Deep Purple. I am a David Coverdale Deep Purple guy. I love not just him, but also what's the bass player's name? I feel like I've failed as a rock fan because his name is
it Bernie Marsden?
No. Because I think he joined the same time David Coverdale joined, I believe.
Let me look it up.
Just look up Burn, Deep Purple Burn, and then you're gonna say his name, and I'm gonna fucking be so mad at myself.
I'm gonna do the same. Discography, studio albums. Burn. See, this is the thing about me and you talking about the 70s. Sometimes we genuinely don't know something.
Yeah.
Usually, I'll know something you don't know, or you'll know something I don't know. This is the one decade where we're both like,
we're just lost in the woods of the 70s.
Yeah. Okay, so fucking hell, man. Personnel. Where's the personnel thing? Here we go. Glenn Hughes. God fucking damn it. There we go. Yeah,
the combination of David Coverdale. I'm getting my Davids mixed up. David Koresh. They're all, Anyway, David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, like the combo when they both are doing vocals on songs. Oh man. Yeah. It's fucking great. Anyway, but we're not even talking about that because that doesn't happen in 1970. They're still technically not even their first lineup on In Rock, I don't think. But anyway,
yeah, this is like their fourth album or something, isn't it?
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm talking so much about this album. It is in my list. It's just higher up. So we're going to get to talking about In Rock more slightly.
Cool.
Are you done now?
I was going to say it's the fourth studio album by Deep Purple, but it is the first studio album recorded by the Mark II lineup. So
okay, yeah,
this is after Hush era. Yeah,
I like that too.
It's cool. Me likey. Anyway, yeah, that's my number 7.
All right, so this might be me introducing you to a new band.
Oh.
Because this is a band that I don't ever hear anybody talk about this band.
Okay.
And they released 2 albums in 1970, and both of them are on my list.
Holy shit.
They are a lesser-known psychedelic rock band from Fort Worth, Texas. And they are called Blood Rock. And this is Blood Rock 2, the second of two albums that they put out in 1970. And it is also a little bit proto metal at times.
I mean, it sounds it.
Yeah, but also it's just great bluesy, riffy, psychedelic rock. This album has the only song that I would consider a quote unquote hit that people might know is a song called DOA that's on this, and this band fucking rules. But I don't know why, because they're an interesting band because they put out 6 albums and a live album in 5 years, and it's weird because their first 4 albums are fucking great, like rock albums, but then they have a personnel change and they lean way into progressive, and the music gets kind of silly and not as good. But the first 2 albums specifically from them are really good. I highly recommend them. And this is Blood Rock 2, Electric Boogaloo. But plus that cover where it's a picture of the band, but then there's just blood dripping over them, and I don't know. I'm assuming probably in record stores, some people are like, "We can't display that. It's got blood dripping down on these individuals." Anyway, and they are on Capitol Records. They are a fucking major label band. They just are a band that for some reason the conversation about them. Like, they didn't get super popular, obviously, but then the conversation about them just fucking ended. Like, there are people who are fans, I know, because I've seen out there people post stuff, but it is not much. You will hear not much about Blood Rock, and I think that should change. So everybody go listen to Blood Rock. And that was Blood Rock 2.
I've gone ahead and immediately added the first 2 albums to my Spotify because I wholeheartedly intend on checking that out.
Yeah,
because
if you like those,
heard something,
if you like those, do the next 2 after that too, because they're also good. But anyway, Blood Rock 2, my number 7.
Cool. So that brings me to my number 6. Boom, boom.
Also, my number 6.
Oh shit! Nice.
That's why I'm holding up Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, featuring the song Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath,
inspired by the movie Black Sabbath.
This is not a 19. I think this one is like a 74 pressing or some shit. This isn't. It's not as cool as I would like it to be. Like, this is a 1970 pressing. I don't think it is. I don't remember what year it is, but it's a 70s pressing.
It's good enough for me, man. I think all of my Sabbath vinyl is reissues.
Oh, okay. No, I have originals of the first 6. And I will eventually get the other 2 Aussies as well. I eventually want to get all Sabbath albums, but see, that's another one of those things in my collection. I'm like, eventually I'm going to have all of those albums, except for 13, because that can go fuck itself. But, anyway, go ahead. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
Yep, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Hailed as the first heavy metal album ever. Whether or not proto-metal bands beat them to the punch with distortion, these guys made it scary. And honestly, from the very first like swells of rain and bell chimes, like, this song feels, I know it's played out and cliche to say it, but genuinely it does feel ahead of its time. Like,
but it legitimately feels spooky, which I've always really enjoyed about that song.
And I feel like over the course of the album, there's moments in it where that aren't spooky. Like, there are still a lot of very just blues songs, but I mean the final track is a Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation cover, right? Yeah. So, well, Evil Woman is a Crow cover. So, all in all, there's actually um, five original songs. I mean,
Hmm.
Black Sabbath is the benchmark ground zero of heavy metal. Um, but I mean, The Wizard is such a good song.
Yep.
Um, NIB, which I actually heard the Ugly Kid Joe version first, but
Oh, okay.
I love both versions. But I definitely think that this one has that 70s charm to it.
Which I know we probably covered this when we talked about the Black Sabbath ranking,
Mm,
but NIB, I love the fact that for many years everyone's like, oh, it stands for Nativity in Black, and then there's an interview where I think one of the I don't know if it's Tony Iommi or who is just like, oh no, that's bullshit. It's not really what it means. And they did a whole fucking tribute album called Nativity in Black, and they're like, that's
yeah.
not really what it's called. But thanks for playing.
Yeah. It's like if Kiss did that, they did that like Kiss covers album where they had a bunch of other bands do songs, and it would have been like if they called it Nights in Satan's Service,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, but really they just called it Kiss My Ass. I like
love
that
that one
too.
too. Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, it's good, and they hadn't quite developed their full identity yet. We'll get
No.
to that later.
Yeah, I mean that's another reason why it's like number 6 for me, because I'm like, it is classic and it's got songs I like, but you're from the next 5 albums that I'm going to be talking about are like, comparatively speaking, way better than this first Black Sabbath album, even if the influence of this Black Sabbath album may be much more than some of these albums, but
Yeah,
it's as an album on its own, it's not. It's actually, when it comes to Ozzy Sabbath, it's probably one of the last ones I'm going to grab and put on.
yeah.
Just because I like it, but they did so much better in the same fucking year. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's pretty awesome though that they would double down and do an album like twice as good in
yeah,
less than a year.
yeah,
In a way, that makes it more of a flex because it's like, hey, you know how we quietly gave birth to one of the most massive subgenres of music ever? Um, yeah, we're just gonna do like an incredible album off of the back of that.
yeah,
And we're gonna do like another four of those, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool stuff. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath from the
Our
album
our
Black
our
Sabbath.
joint number 6. So you can move straight into number 5 because we matched
Okay,
up there.
well, here's an album I've already mentioned, Led Zeppelin 3.
Hey.
There we go. Yep. Led Zeppelin 3. Probably, would you say that this is probably the most divisive of the first four Zeppelin albums? Whereas it's like
I
it's softer in a way on one side, but on the other side it's still pretty rocking.
Honestly, I think when we did our Zeppelin ranking, this one was higher up for me because I think this is kind of when they really became a great band. Their first 2 albums are great albums, but this is the first one that I'm like, oh, this is legendary status music now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They started to shed some of that standard blues crap that kind of plagued their earlier stuff. But
Yeah.
this is to me like one of their best albums. So
It's cool in a way as well, where this album always struck me almost layout wise as to where it's like two EPs, you know,
oh yeah,
worth of material as opposed to like an album because they've not meshed in the softer songs with the more rocking songs. They've just got the heavier side and the more acoustic side. So in a way that kind of works as to whether if you're just in the mood for the chill ones, you've got that option. If you're in
yeah,
the mood for a quick burst of rock, you've got side one, acoustic, side two. And I think that's cool, and it's definitely uh, a mark of its era, especially being the idea of side A and side B, while important to crafting an album, hasn't really been at the forefront of people's minds since the dawn of the CD, where it's like it's all one side. Um,
Yeah,
so
I still think of albums that way, and that's why I even like, when they do reissues of '90s albums that weren't intended to be on vinyl, and they pick a cool point to break it up. I'm always like, yeah, that was well done, breaking it up right there. But it's
yeah,
because I don't know why, it's still important to me. It's still important to me to think about side A and side B. Just that's where my brain has always been.
yeah, yeah, and this is such a great album as well. You've got Immigrant Song, Celebration Day, Since I've Been Loving You, Bronya Stomp, like
Mhm.
it's awesome stuff.
Yep.
And also, I got to hand it to it from a packaging perspective as well. Led Zeppelin 3 is one of the coolest albums I've ever held, with that little circle thing that
I'm all
goes
like,
around.
I'm all like, we'll get to it, but I'll show off my 1970 copy.
I also have an old ass copy of Led Zeppelin 3.
Yeah.
So I too have the little, what's it called? I think it's mentioned here. Was it? Ah, there we go. The Volvel used on the album cover.
Oh, that's fancy. Volvel.
A Volvo? I mean, that's just a Volvo is just a car. And a Volvo is something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. With that,
Yep.
I suppose that wraps up my little ramble. Before I
Okay.
ramble on
Oh,
too long,
nice.
hey, over to you.
Okay, so we already talked about this one, so I don't have much to add. My number 5 is In Rock by Deep Purple, which I do not have on vinyl because my Deep Purple dive has not gone that far yet. Once again, that'll happen. But this is probably my second favorite Deep Purple album. Number 1 being Burn. I fucking love Burn. Every fucking moment of that album I love. But this one's a very close second for me. And yeah, Deep Purple were a fucking great band. But also, like, I want there to be some rock band, some modern heavy band that incorporates like the Hammond organ, or what's the is that what it is, the Hammond organ that's in
I'm
it?
pretty sure it's a Hammond.
Because it sounds so fucking good the way Deep Purple did it. And it's so weird that you would think, because there's so much fucking 70s worship bands out there. There's a lot of Sabbath worship, but like there's a lot, especially coming from Austin, Texas. You fucking throw a rock and you have a fucking 70s worship band out there. But none of them have a fucking Hammond organ that I can remember. And I would like that. In fact, don't even want you to be a 70s throwback. I want you to do some modern fucking metal with a Hammond organ all the way fucking through it. Like, not just in the middle. You'd be like, look, there's a keyboard here. No. You have a member of the band. They play the fucking Hammond organ. Because I love it. I love the way it sounds. And I also love seeing old footage of Deep Purple where like dudes literally like rocking the fucking organ back and forth and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, dude. They were the real deal, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, I love, as much as I love Black Sabbath, if I was going to go back to the 70s and they said, hey, would you want to go see Deep Purple or Black Sabbath? I'd be like, I'm going to go see Deep Purple, thanks. Because they seem like they're going to blow my fucking head off. And, Sabbath were good too, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe too bad I don't have that problem of like, you get to travel back to 1970s to see one band. Which one is it going to be? It's probably going to be Deep Purple. So anyway,
Cool.
All right, moving on to number 4.
Okay, so this is another recent addition of mine, but it is a band I had heard at least a couple albums from and really enjoy. And also, this is one of I can bring up Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Oh, nice.
Because it's not got a song from San Andreas on it, but I found out about this band from San Andreas.
Got it.
My number 4 is the self-titled album from Humble Pie.
Okay. Another band that I know them, but I don't think I know songs by Humble Pie.
This album, let me get this thing up here because it's.
Is there a big hit by Humble Pie? What's the song on San Andreas?
Get Down to It. Let me get Humble Pie up because for some reason my mind is drawing a fucking blank. 30 Days in the Hole, Get Down to It, Black Coffee, Hot and Nasty, Live With Me.
Well, I don't know any of
One-Eyed
those.
Trouser Steak, Rumba.
All right, I'm going to listen to that one first.
Yeah, that one's on here.
Okay.
And upon listening to this, I was like, God, this is like every kind of cool rock song that could possibly exist at this time.
Interesting.
And it's cool. It starts off with kind of a softer organ. There's organ in there. But yeah, Live With Me, Only a Roach, One-Eyed Trouser Snake, Roomba. Earth and Water Song, I'm Ready. Theme from Skint, See You Later, Liquidator. Red Light Mama, Red Hot, and Sucking on the Sweet Vine. It's just, this album's really, really cool. And Humble Pie is a band that I think deserves a little more spotlight. I mean, I've listened to what the other albums called that I've listened to quite a bit. Smokin' and Eat It are really good as well. So I thought, oh, check this one out. It came out in 1970, and I'm glad I did. And I'm now going to have to bridge the gap and listen to Rock On by Humble Pie, which came out in 1971, and then I'll have listened to most of the early run. But yeah, simply put, yeah, sorry, I keep cutting you off.
The only thing I know about Humble Pie is that they bought Penny Lane for $50 in a pack of beer. That's all I know. That's a almost famous reference if anybody is curious. A movie that I have seen an alarming amount of times.
I got thinking about it the other day, the amount of time I've spent doing any one thing.
Oh shit.
And like if you were to tally up how much time you have spent actively listening to music, so not just out and about being exposed to it, like just having music on of your own accord.
Oh, God.
Like I've thought about this, and I've thought about this, but I've also thought about this in terms of I have had a games console since I was 5 years old, going all the way from the PS1 right up till now. I've at least racked up a few years worth of time just playing video games alone. I would say at least one whole year of San Andreas. I would not be surprised if I have a year's worth of time logged on that game alone. I really wouldn't, because just while it's on my mind, I just got thinking how much time have I spent with like any one thing.
Yeah,
it's gotta be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that listening to music has got to be the one thing I've done for the most amount of time in my life, aside from just like, breathing or something.
Yeah.
But so it's got to be, I don't know. I've listening to music has been a huge part of my day-to-day life since I was probably 8. So it's like that's a long time, and I don't even know where to begin. What's going on, Sonny? You're whining. Why are you whining?
Oh, Sonny be whining.
Why are you whining? Do you need something? He's like, I need attention. Well, I gotta do my number 5, sir, or my number 4. Yeah, we just got done with Humble Pie. Okay. So just hang out for a little.
You have pie?
Bye. All right, so let's move on. I'm gonna do my number 4. Let's get down. Can you get down? Maybe he wants to go out. I'm gonna let him out.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. Where were we? Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay, so boom. First double up for me. Number 4, Blood Rock by
Whoa.
Blood Rock. This album's fucking killer. Well, I mean, both
Nice.
their first 2 are killer, but all the same things about this one. It's proto metal, psychedelic rock, cool bluesy rock, all the shit together. But the songs are fucking great. It's a fucking really cool album. I can't say it enough. Go listen to Blood Rock. Yeah, this is the. I feel like I've said everything I need to say because they did 2 albums in a year, and honestly, they're not super different from each other. I just like the songs on the first Blood Rock album a little bit more than the songs on the second Blood Rock. Yeah, my number 4, Blood Rock by Blood Rock. There is no song called Blood Rock, unfortunately, on this album. So then it would be like Blood Rock, they'd be a Sabbath kind of thing. But think about this shit. Like, you've got like so much of this fucking proto metal music all in the same year that I almost feel like it's doing it a disservice to call Sabbath the inventors of metal, because I feel like it was a group of them all together, and Sabbath was just kind of the band that kind of came out on top after all of it. Yeah. But it's just that is amazing to me that the amount of this kind of music that, like-minded people were all just kind of moving in the same direction, where they're like, oh, it's bluesy, but what if we make it darker, or whatever. Yeah. I think they were all mad because like Robert Plant kept singing about love all the time, and they're all like, "Fuck Robert Plant," and then that's where metal was created. Oh yeah, you need love, Robert Plant. We need Satan. All right, anyway, moving on to your number 3.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna have to check out some Blood Rock, dude.
Do it.
I'm tempted. My number 3 is another semi-recent one because I've passively enjoyed this band for a long time. Mm-hmm. And before anyone tries to accuse me of being chronically online, I knew about this song before TikTok took it and made it a sound.
What song is it? What album is this?
My number 3 is Climbing by Mountain.
What the fuck, dude? Once again, I've heard the name Mountain. I don't know.
Mississippi Queen.
Oh, get
out.
Okay, all right, Black Betty, get the fuck out.
Yeah. I checked it out, the whole album.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Me likey. I came to it having, been teased with Mississippi Queen, and I went in expecting, just an album of Mississippi Queen, and it delivered good Mississippi Queen energy, but it also had a lot of variety in the songs as well.
Oh, good to know, because Mississippi Queen does nothing for me at all. Like it's
really?
that is 70s stuff that just I go, okay, no, this is not. Funny. This is I don't know what it is. It doesn't do anything for me. There's certain songs of that side of rock music that just don't do it. I don't know.
I love a riff, man. What I'll say is this: if you listened to this album, that would probably be, knowing you, that would probably be your least favorite song.
Well, that's good to know. I'll have to check it out then.
It's got some cool stuff on it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't hate it by any means. It just doesn't draw me to go listen to this band,
Yeah, I will admit, just now you kind of alluded to Black Betty. I always felt like
yeah,
I always
Ram Jam.
Yeah, and this isn't Ram Jam's fault. In fact, I think Ram Jam covered it and just made it a heavy song. I think they covered it from someone else. I can't remember who, but I just remember like Black Bay and pretty much any Bon Jovi song when it would get played. When it would get played at like school discos, and everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
They played that at your school dances?
Yeah, but hear me out, right?
Yeah.
Where it would be like the thing that pissed me off. It was like, you guys have like given me shit all year for liking this kind of stuff, and now you're gonna stand there and sing one of the biggest hair metal choruses ever with "Living on a Prayer," or one of the biggest 70s rock hits, and act like you know fucking anything. I'm better than all of you. It's just people, man. People suck. Appropriating our culture. Yeah. But yeah. Like I say, climbing mountain. I just got the title.
It's pretty deep, so you gotta like really think about it.
Whoa, dude, man, dude. Yeah, cool album.
All right, number 3 appropriately is Led Zeppelin 3.
Hey,
which let's do the wheel. Let's do the wheel. Hold on.
Got to do the whole thing. Got to wheel it all the way around.
Is it? Can you see it?
Yeah, it's
wheeling.
Spin that thing, man. Keep it spinning.
their artwork for their albums, they always have interesting shit. Like the physical graffiti one where you can switch out the windows and stuff.
Yeah.
This one's probably my favorite because it's the most fun, and it just looks fucking weird as shit. But anyway, I always put mustache guy in the window. That's where I leave mine. Anyway, yeah, this is Led Zeppelin 3, and it's a classic. It's a very strong album. It's got that's the thing, is that I admittedly am the kind of person that it's tough to get me really into a soft acoustic number. It's got to be beautiful as fuck for me to get really into it, and that's what's on here. Like I would say that I like the acoustic songs on here more than the rockin' songs on here. They're just fucking beautiful songs. And it stops Robert Plant from being all like, "I need your love." He actually sings some nice shit. I think this is a fucking great album. But like I said, I think this is when they kind of went from being a good band to a band that deserves to be legendary. And I think it starts with Led Zeppelin 3. But yeah, it's an amazing album, and my top 3 are albums that are considered classics, and I wholeheartedly agree that they should be considered classics. So, number 3, Led Zeppelin. Nope. I always put a D at the end of Led Zeppelin, and it's just a weird thing in my brain where I just say it, Led Zeppelin. Well,
I always thought when I was a kid, I always thought that a cliff, something you could fall off a cliff, was called a clift. So I was going around saying clift for years. I got it mixed up with cleft somewhere along the way, I guess. But yeah, my number two is Cosmos Factory, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Okay, what's the big hit off this one?
This one has a few. It's got Traveling Band, Up Round the Bend, Looking Out My Back Door, a cover of Heard It Through the Grapevine, Run Through the Jungle, such a good fucking song. I love that song so much.
That's on every single Vietnam soundtrack.
Yeah.
Vietnam movie soundtrack.
if a Vietnam movie doesn't have CCR
Fortunate
in
Son
it somewhere, yeah. I remember, I know you haven't watched it in a while, but there is a gag. There was a Family Guy gag that made me laugh one time, and one of the characters was having like, it was telling like a story of their days in Nam, and they said you could never concentrate on what you were fighting at in that damn helicopter because Creedence Clearwater Revival was playing non-stop. Yeah. But man, this is one of those that grow on me a little bit more. Like as opposed to Green River. Green River was a instant click with me.
Is Green River after this album or before?
Green River is before, and while
Okay.
we're on the subject of bands putting out a lot of material in a short space of time, are you ready
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah.
Creedence Clearwater Revival, self-titled, 68. Bayou Country, 69. Green River, 69. Willie and the Poor Boys, 69. 3 albums in a year.
Dang.
Willie and the Poor Boys is the one with Fortunate Son on it.
Okay.
And Down on the Corner, and It Came Out of the Sky, Cotton Field. Like, songwriting, man, they just had this knowledge of how to write catchy hits.
I mean, you say they, but isn't it mostly Home Dude? It's his show.
Yeah. John Fogerty.
John Fogerty, yeah.
Yeah, he's the main guy.
Didn't he, at one point, I remember hearing that he got sued for ripping off himself.
Really?
Like he wrote a song, like a solo project song years later, and I guess the rights to the Creedence stuff was owned by somebody else, and the song was too close to something he already wrote, and so he got sued for ripping off himself. I think that's the story.
That is riff blur punishment right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, man, like even tracks like Ooby Dooby, like they still have a fun vibe to them, and Ramble Tamble is a great way to open it. Before You Accuse Me is a great song. Traveling Band, I'm pretty sure Def Leppard covered that a few times, which was cool. But yeah, this is one of those albums that I love from start to finish. And I've found that with CCR, for some reason, every time I go back, I'm like, I love this even more. I love this even more. I love this even more with each ensuing listen. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just kind of like, it's something that's rocking, but I can also kind of chill to.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And it makes for an incredible soundtrack when you're playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So with that, bada boom, bada bing.
Nice.
Yeah, number 2.
So, all right, my number 2. So I think I was wrong. I was thinking that this album was recorded a couple years before, but I guess it was the year before. This band did so much shit. Speaking of a band, there is no band that accomplished so much in such a short span of time than this band here. And my number 2 is Let It Be by the Beatles. Because you think about it and you're like, oh, they recorded this album and then they kind of shelved it and then recorded Abbey Road. But I was like, holy shit, that was all in like just a couple years. It wasn't, and I was like, oh yeah, because they blew up in 64 and then by 1970 they broke up. Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Yeah.
Like I know there are people out there that are the naysayers, like, Beatles are overrated. I'm like, they're not. I'm like, because like for many, many reasons, and eventually we'll get to a Beatles ranking, which will be very fun because I love the Beatles. And I'll talk more about it, but yeah, there's you can't rate them high enough for me. They are not like one of my favorite bands of all time, but they are one that I look at. I enjoy everything they did, but I can look at it also objectively and go, holy fuck, the amount that they accomplished, not just as a band, but also in pushing like music forward.
Yeah.
in certain ways. But Let It Be is like their last album that they put out, and it was. You know what the funny thing is? I keep forgetting that I never watched that Let It Be documentary that Peter Jackson.
Back.
Yeah, Get
Yeah.
Back, which I really want to see, and I just forget about it because I just don't think about watching things that often. Like, you know, I have I have television shows that I watch with my wife. You know, every we're very slow with watching shows. We don't binge anything, but I think that's kind of my fault because I get really bored very quickly with shows. But anyway, this was supposed to be like a movie, and you can actually, I don't know if you can still watch it, but I actually saw the movie because I had like a bootleg of it back in the day. Like I went to some record convention, and somebody literally had like a bootleg DVD of the actual Let It Be movie. That a lot of all the footage was taken, and then they later fixed it up and put out Get Back. But originally, it was supposed to be the Beatles make an album and a movie, and the movie comes up. But for some reason, the movie never actually legitimately came out as a movie. But anyway, on to this album. Have you heard Let It Be all the way through? Like, this album well at all?
I'm one of those people that I didn't grow up in a Beatles family. I didn't. Okay. But here's my story with the Beatles and how I have yet to do the Beatles deep dive. I didn't grow up in a Beatles household.
Yeah.
It also came down to when it came around to being a music kid in a music class, just having the Beatles smashed over your head 24/7 when all you want to hear is Metallica for a while. It just kind of put me off it for a long time, where I was like, hey, I don't want to be ignorant, but you telling me to do something is going to make me want to do it a lot fucking less. It's like before, if someone had approached me and said, hey, check this out, this is the Beatles, and I'd be like, oh, these guys are really cool. But it was the fact that you need to know the Beatles because the Beatles are the correct answer to what's the greatest band of all time. And it's like, dude, fuck off. You've made me not want to do this at all. But thankfully, over the course of many years and realizing the impact and influence they have on pretty much, if not every band I like, every band that they likes, albums that the previous band was influenced by, there is a through line somewhere from the Beatles to the most extreme fucking metal out there. The Beatles are a huge reason music got really interesting. Yeah. Because the 50s into the early 1960s, there was some cool stuff, but for the most part, it was very safe.
Oh, dude, I how, like, I will often say that, like, I hate country music more than pretty much anything. But a close second is 50s, early 60s music when everything's like, wah, 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 all that shit. Oh, that is a way to get me to fucking leave a party right away. Because it's like, it annoys the hell out of me. And so so like these guys came along, and mind you, they were influenced by other people. So I'm very aware of that. But they didn't like really hide their influences. They did fucking cover songs, of these artists and stuff. But I feel like they very quickly, became their own thing. Which is why they were, if they had literally just kept doing the kind of shit they did in the first couple albums, then I don't know if I wouldn't be talking about them the same way that I am. But because of that, I love the early stuff and I love the later stuff. But they really did, influence people to like do different things, and it just so happened that it came from a band that was massively popular. So that's why it was so important, It's the same thing with people saying, well, Nirvana weren't the best out of all of the grunge bands. I'm like, yeah, they weren't, but they were the most important when it comes to people like me because they brought that shit to me. You know, I saw them. They became, you know, popular, and they were a big deal. And, you know, I'm never going to say they're the best band in the world. They are one of my favorites. But, you know, sometimes there's an importance that goes way further than just who did it first or who did it better or whatever. Because there are also bands that did music similar to the Beatles that you could probably say arguably are way better. And so there's, we really need to do a ranking of the Beatles because they're such an interesting band to talk about, because I'm not I'm not one of those people that's going to beat you over the head and tell you that you need to think the Beatles are the best band ever, because they're not even in my top 20 bands. but they are also a band that I'm just like, I can't say enough good things about them.
I just remember reaching this point in my musical development where I had this like subconscious thing where it was like, if a band becomes a quote unquote right answer band,
oh yeah,
I lose interest completely, because it's like, this just feels like groupthink, and I'm not getting into this organically.
Yeah,
it didn't feel genuine to me. Where it's like,
honestly, if you're a person that presents something as the greatest or the best, I immediately discount you as a knowledgeable person, because I'm like, you can't say something is the best or the greatest. You can say it's your favorite. I like that word. I like that word a lot. But yeah. So yeah, no, I'm totally with you, because I've gone through phases with certain bands and certain music where people are just like, it's the best. I'm like, well, who said that? Who? Why? Yeah.
it even unfortunately happened to me with Queen a little bit, where it was like, I loved Queen, you know, and then everybody started acting like, because I like Metallica, I don't know anything about Queen, and that just really started to piss me off, because it was like, you don't know this song, stop singing along. It's like, it's fucking Bohemian Rhapsody. We watched Wayne's World last week. You know, it's stupid how stupid you think I fucking am. You know, I fucking hate people when they just go on this, like, I know more than you about X topic, so I know more than you about everything. Everything you like is invalid, and everything I say is gospel. And it's like, fuck off, dude.
Yep. And that's only gotten worse because of the internet, because people aren't afraid. You just ruined
like 10 classic albums for me, assholes, you know. And it's only now that I'm finally beginning to be able to jump out of that mindset, because I'm like, I don't want to feel ignorant. Ignorant is the last adjective I would want to describe myself.
Yeah.
Literally last place. Any other fucking adjective. But it even comes down to like stuff like Bowie. Took me years to come around to Bowie, because people were like, oh, Bowie is the greatest. The Beatles are the greatest. You're wrong for thinking this is better than this. And it's like, how about this entire fucking subject is subjective, you know?
Yeah. I mean, but it's like, it's the musical equivalent of, like, you know, the Dunning-Kruger effect, you know, which is that study where it's like, people that don't know much and aren't very smart don't understand that they don't know much and aren't very smart. Whereas the people that are very smart are usually the ones that are like, oh no, I don't know. Somebody else must know more than me. And that's the only reason why I think that I'm smart, because I'll look at myself and I'll go, oh, you fucking dumbass. But I'll go, me calling myself a dumbass and assuming that so many people know more than me, that makes me smart, right? Because, like, that's how a smart brain is supposed to work. You're supposed to be constantly thinking, oh, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
You know, and
critical thinking skills. Yeah.
But yeah. And so that's why I get so bent out of shape when people do say this is the best band of all time, or this is the best album, or I fucking hate hot takes on the internet. It's all like, hot take, this album is better than this album. No, you like it more. Yeah. That is not a hot take. It's not a hot take to say I like an album, or it shouldn't be. It should not be.
I don't think the Black Album's very good.
Okay, well
Like,
that's fine. Like the way, even the way you said it, I don't think the
yeah,
Black Album's very good. Great, that is an
that's
opinion, and it's
that's
stated as
better
an opinion.
than yeah, yeah. It's significantly better than the Black Album's not very good.
Yeah,
It's like, really?
yeah,
It's still the greatest. It's still the best-selling metal album to this day.
yep.
But
I gotta stop. I sometimes have to stop myself with that shit too because I fucking hate Elvis Presley. Like he can die another 10 times and I don't care. But but at the same time, it's the same sort of thing where like he may have ripped off a bunch of fucking artists and been a piece of shit most of his life, but he kind of helped usher in some cool stuff and he was so popular that he turned people on to stuff and he's very influential to some people. So I can't look at Elvis and go fuck you 100%. I'm just gonna go well fuck you like 75% because I understand that you were important in some way, but that's why it's so difficult for me to ever say something like this is the worst, this is the best. I have to say favorite because it makes my skin crawl to say best and greatest because I'm just oh no, stop it.
yeah,
The Beatles are the best band in the world. Anyway, Let It Be. I love Let It Be because it's the loosest Beatles album that they did because that was kind of the vibe. They were just kind of fucking around in the studio and John has some ideas, George has some ideas, Paul has some ideas, and they're like, Yoko, why are you sitting there? Leave. That kind of shit. But it's got like the big songs off here, Across the Universe, beautiful fucking John Lennon song there. You've got Let It Be, an absolute classic. You've got one of my favorite Beatles songs, I've Got a Feeling, is on here. And then of course Get Back, The Long and Winding Road. Give me a fucking break, man. But it's got these other songs like the first couple songs, Two of Us and I Dig a Pony. Those are both songs that are so good, but they don't get talked about, but it's because they're not like overwhelmingly good, like, but they just feel good. They have a good vibe to them. And then you get other stuff on here, like, Maggie May and One After 909, which is more just like, we're just kind of jamming and fucking around. And that's why I like this album, because it does feel like some dudes got into a room and just started fucking around and they had some song ideas and they fucked around with some other stuff. And then they made this album, and then they fucking broke up. It's like, well, I guess they made Abbey Road after this, but still, like, it's just crazy. And I've always really loved the way, because it ends with Get Back, and the last thing you hear is that line where John Lennon goes, "On behalf of the band, I hope we pass the audition." I was like, I always thought that was really cute because at that point they knew they were the fucking Beatles.
yeah.
So anyway, that's my number 2, and I'm willing to bet that our number 1 is exactly the same. Is this your number 1?
We've matched up on both Black Sabbath albums.
Paranoid by Black Sabbath is our joint number 1. I didn't mean to jump in, but I was just like, come on. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
What else was it gonna be?
I know, for real. But the Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which is fucking amazing. It's an amazing album. You go first.
It's fucking Paranoid, dude. like seriously.
It's the best album of all time, isn't it?
It is one of those albums that does go without saying. I mean, one quick browse of the track list, War Pigs alone makes this.
Look at Ozzy in this gatefold. Look at him.
Yeah.
He looks cool as fuck. I guess they all look pretty fucking cool. Sorry, podcast listeners. This is the gatefold of Paranoid,
absolutely.
but anyway, yeah.
No, seriously, this is 4 dudes firing on all cylinders. From the very first opening salvo to the ending of the album. This is wow. Just War Pigs again. Like I say, Paranoid what a one-two punch that is. War Pigs, Paranoid. But then they have the audacity to come at you with Planet Caravan, which is super cool.
And then
Iron Man.
fucking Iron Man, which I get it. Some songs like that are very overplayed. I understand that, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, they got to the overplay point because, I mean, listen to us. War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, and Iron Man. That's only side A.
Yeah.
Then you flip it over.
Electric Funeral.
Yeah. Then you've got Electric Funeral, Hand of
Doom. Yeah.
Rat Salad, granted, is an instrumental with a drum solo in it, but
yeah.
I mean that's cool as fuck. That's like
it's cool. I miss those kind of songs on albums, and so I like it on here. And then probably my favorite Black Sabbath song of all time, "Fairies Wear Boots." I love that song.
Yeah.
So have you speaking of War Pigs, did we ever talk about this? Did you ever see that Netflix movie Metal Lords?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I love that movie, and I'm so mad that it didn't become more popular, but I blame the metal community for that because so many fucking metalheads were like, this is fucking cheesy. I'm all like, you're a fucking idiot.
Look at yourselves.
Yeah. Because it's like what did you want it to be? It's like, it's about these high schoolers and all they do is cocaine and they sacrifice virgins and set churches on fire. That's the metal movie. No, that's not the metal experience that most of us had.
Yeah. I completely lost my train of thought because
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just I was thinking to myself then, you know, metal has this awful. There it is. The metal community has this horrible problem where everybody takes themselves far too seriously these days. Like, if you look at metalheads in the 80s and 90s, we were all just goofy guys making loud fucking music, and we all just vibe.
I mean, there were people back then that took themselves too seriously as well, but they were the same. But I feel like those are the people who treat being into a music genre like cosplay. Like you have to be wearing the right things and have the right opinions and have, and so whenever that's why I'm never comfortable with calling myself a metalhead, because I'm not comfortable calling myself anything, because my aesthetic has always just been this. And I've also been the person that's like, I'm going to play Rain and Blood and talk about how amazing it is. And then I'm going to be like, oh, here, let's listen to this Jawbox album, a band that is not metal at all, and most people don't even fucking know. But that's just that's just where I am,
I remember reading a comment sometime in the past that said something to the effect of, I don't like Wayne's World and Bill and Ted because they spread harmful stereotypes that metalheads are buffoons. And it's like, motherfucker, it is a comedy movie.
Yeah.
It's being played for laughs because it's a comedy movie.
And how ironic that person comes off as more of a buffoon than Wayne and Garth do.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make, though, about Metal Lords, I love it. If people out there haven't watched it, it's just a good high school coming of age movie that involves metal. And I'm not gonna lie, I've seen that movie 3 times. And the scene where the drummer is discovering War Pigs and learning how to play the drums, I tear up every fucking time I see that scene, because I'm just like, I remember that. It wasn't War Pigs for me, but that part where you're just like, this song that is legendary in some sort of degree, you're hearing it for the first time, and it's influencing you in ways that you weren't even fucking prepared for. And I love that so much. That's why I like that movie, because it's funny, it's kind of goofy at times, but the overarching vibe of it is the closest to my experience getting into music in junior high and being a high school quote unquote metal fan. And so, so that's another thing that War Pigs is one of those songs that sometimes songs will get overplayed to the point where you're just like, all right, yeah, yeah, War Pigs. But then when you see it put into a new context like that, like in that scene of the movie, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is a fucking amazing song.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. It's just like that. That's my favorite thing is somehow finding a way to hear a song I've heard a million times in a slightly different way and just be reminded, oh, no, 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 this is fucking brilliant. And like that's honestly, I sometimes enjoy that a little bit more than discovering new music. Like
Yeah.
something clicks in your brain where a song hits you in a way that it hasn't hit you in years, and I love it. I love it, and I love "Paranoid" by Black Sabbath.
Well, I had a little thing here that I just wanted to mention about Paranoid.
Yeah.
Here's its list of accolades on its wiki page.
Oh shit.
In 1989, Kerrang! Magazine listed the album at number 39 among the 100 greatest heavy metal albums of all time.
39.
I know, but I think with the 1989, they were probably more focused on like what was coming out.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's
Contextually.
true. Yeah.
Contextually, I think as time's gone on, people have begun to appreciate Sabbath more again. But
Yeah.
in 1994, Paranoid was ranked number 3 in Colin Larkin's top 50 heavy metal albums. According to Larkin, pretenders have often grasped at their crown, but Paranoid shows that Black Sabbath remain the quintessential metal band. In 1999, Q magazine included it in their list of the best gothic albums of all time, writing that Black Sabbath stamped their bombastic and doom-laden imprint on British rock forever. In 1999, this is just me listing off a bunch of accolades, but I think it deserves it because these are basically my notes on this album. Included it on their list of 100 essential albums of the 20th century. That's Vibe. In 2003, the album was ranked number 130 on Rolling Stone's magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time.
Yeah. Fuck Rolling Stone. They've had their head up their asses for 50 years. So, you know.
Yeah. 131 in a 2012 revised list and 139 in a 2020 revised list. So it's moved down 8 spaces. In 2009, the album was ranked number 6 on Guitar World magazine's list of the 50 greatest guitar albums of all time. In 2010, Paranoid was covered as part of the Classic Albums documentary series. Hear me out though. In 2017, Rolling Stone considered it the greatest metal album ever.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I'm very uncomfortable with the word greatest. I would like publications like that so much better if they would say our favorite, or based on our research, this is the album that came on top for the people that work here and we talked to. That's too long of a title. I guess it's easier to say greatest. I'm sorry. Just don't listen to me. I wouldn't call it the greatest. I guess maybe so for its influence, because you know me, I like Master of Reality more than this one, but and I think I also like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath more than this one. But yeah, I think really if you were going to go through the same sort of scenario that I'm talking about, like with the Beatles, I guess Paranoid probably. I'm probably pretty comfortable with it being the greatest metal album of all time, because it's early stages metal, and it's iconic.
It's classic after classic.
Very influential.
If I read an entire 100 album list of the most essential metal albums, and that was at the top, I wouldn't be upset about it.
I don't really have a problem with it. It makes sense. yeah, there are plenty of metal albums that I like way more, but
Yeah.
a lot of them probably aren't even on that list because I'm very weird.
We're both weird.
Yeah, we are. We are pretty. I think that's why it works. This little cranked and ranked show we've been doing a little bit. You guys maybe you've heard of it. All right. Well, that was our ranking of 1970 with our joint number one, Paranoid from Black Sabbath, and
Yeah.
this has been an interesting one. And yeah, and speaking of interesting, I'm very excited for next week's ranking. Are you gonna be all good for next week's ranking? You gonna have enough time to
I should
wrap your
be.
head around? Sweet.
I should be. How many albums? How many albums are there from
I
the?
believe 5.
Let's have a look.
We're doing a let's say the band that we're doing has things in common with 70s proto metal and
Elements from the past and future combining to make something not quite as good as either.
eels up inside you. Why did you say
Finding an entrance where they can.
Yeah,
Eels up.
your voice sounded like that. Eels.
Eels.
Anyway, yeah, it's a newer band, but they are there's a lot of that stuff in their music, and they're arguably not arguably I think they are one of the biggest metal bands around now. If you would consider them metal, I'm not comfortable necessarily calling them metal. They have metal qualities, but
Yeah, people have figured it out. It's Ghost. We're doing Ghost.
yeah, it's Ghost. If you're here, if you've been here this long, you're a peanut butter platypus, millennium squirrel, belvedere's ball sitters, Christmas dog person, and we appreciate you. But yeah, next ranking is Ghost, which is a band that I've recently found a very deep love for. But I'll go more into that on the next episode. So let's chill for the next episode. Greatest rapper of all time, Snoop Dogg. Fuck, I don't know.
Dupe Snog.
Dude, Dupe Snog. That's in England. That's actually kind of funny because snog is an actual thing you guys say over there, which we don't say it here. Do they still say snog over there? Is that a term?
It's a regional thing, I think, at this point. I mean, yeah, it exists. It exists.
I learned that term because well, do one last tangent before we leave, guys. I learned that term because there was a short-lived. It wasn't even a show. I think it was a sketch that grew into a bigger thing, which was Rick Mayall and Adrian, what's his name, and they were the Dangerous Brothers.
Yeah.
And they would literally like it was just like them hurting each other for a few minutes every single sketch. But I just remember one of them was the Dangerous Brothers present crocodile snogging. And I was like, what the fuck is snogging? And so I had to learn that, it means like making out. So making out with a crocodile.
Yeah.
And they're like, dangerous crocodile snogging. Anyway, the Dangerous Brothers are fucking funny. But I remember like hearing that like they would occasionally actually get hurt doing stuff. Man, I miss Rick Mayall. He was fucking great. Rest in peace.
I need to watch that.
The Dangerous Brothers. But they had gore and like they had that a lot of shit. But some of it's so fucking stupid. But it's just those two together because like they did the Young Ones, and then they were also in the show Bottom, which is also really great.
Yeah.
And then I think
Bottom in years.
And then Filthy Rich and Cat Flap is another one.
Yeah.
But I just became such a huge fan from the Young Ones that I kind of just followed Rick Mayall to like whatever he was doing, all the way to Drop Dead Fred, Anyway, we'll do our ranking of Rick Mayall shows someday because he rules. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like a show like Bottom is very important because you wouldn't have like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I don't think, without a show like Bottom, where like the two characters are like not good people at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, go watch Bottom. Go watch some Rick Mayall things, and go listen to Blood Rock, everybody. We'll be back next week for some Ghost. And you have any parting words?
70s, man. What a fucking decade, dude.
The war in Viet fucking now. Anyway, all right, cool. So that's the end of this episode of Cranked and Ranked. Thank you for being here. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Later, dude.